Hey everybody, welcome back to Gun Tote Minnesotan. My name is Andrew, and today I have the privilege of telling you about the Telson Optics 5-25 by 56 first focal plane MRAD long range optic. Now, the nature of the relationship is Telson did send this out to the channel for a review. I do really like the guys at Telson quite a bit. I think it's a high integrity group. I love what they're doing. I like the people they're collaborating with to come up with these optics, and I'm going to put my bias out there right away. That being said, when it comes to optics, if I really didn't like this, I honestly wouldn't take the time to review it. I'm just at a place with my channel where if I'm not a big fan, I'm probably just going to tell them to move along. I'm not that interested. No cash has exchanged hands. They just sent out the optic, and now I'm putting my time and ammo and money into reviewing it. And so I'm going to be very honest and genuine in this, and I have nothing to prove, nothing to hide. I just want to tell you guys that I actually like this optic. So I will be recommending it, but I'm going to start off by telling you about a few of the specs. It is a 5-25 by 56 with an ED lens. Tube size is 34 millimeters. The reticle type is a mil, which is going to match the turrets, and it's the etched FAR 2 reticle, which you'll be seeing in my review. The illumination has 11 settings with off in between, and catch this, it has motion wake and auto on. That's really cool and almost impossible to find the price point. I think that's awesome. Glass type, like I said, is ELD. Turret style is a locking 3-turn with indicators for that second and third revolution, and a zero stop, of course. Really like that indicator. I'll show you more of that in a little bit. The adjustment is 1/10 mil. Parallax setting goes down to 20 yards and up to infinity. The elevation adjustment and windage adjustment are at 32 mils, which is excellent. 10 mils per revolution or rotation. And you're going to find this is a little under 15 inches overall. The battery runs on a CR2032, and the weight is just under 23 ounces, which is very impressive for a 5-25 of this size and capability. Okay guys, what you're looking at here is a fair bit of mirage because I'm filming from inside, going out a window, and I'm just looking at 50 yards right now using my side shot scope cam to record the reticle. I want to give you a picture, and it is somewhat clipped. If I actually show you the side shot scope cam is going to clip just a little bit of it. It's tough to be functional though and show you, and this doesn't have a lot of negative hold in the reticle, so it's actually not a problem, but we're on 25 power. And that center dot you're looking at there is a 0.04 center dot, and it's got a lot of room to breathe around the center dot. You can easily distinguish for like about those 0.5 mil holds in that area there, and it's just really airy and visible in that area, as well as having the holds or some sort of reference point near the reticle. And that's kind of hard to do. I actually find that when you're trying to, well, I don't make reticles, but when you're trying to find a reticle that has, you know, a sufficiently large center dot and then a sufficient boldness to the reticle, and then it doesn't occlude your target or it doesn't prevent you from seeing what's going on, your misses. You don't have such big dots like I think of the Tremor 3, which a lot of people like, but it has very, very big dots. And especially with the wind holds, other parts of the reticle, the fatness of the lines, it might actually prevent you from seeing a miss. Or if you try to lay it over an animal or a gray target, it could just kind of block things out a little bit. It's kind of a busy reticle. This Christmas tree style reticle is not busy, and the stadia are bold enough that I can easily pick them out. It's not difficult. It feels like a very comfortable, semi-traditional Christmas tree, and it's gonna be easy for people to jump on. It doesn't really matter what optic or reticle you're coming from for a background. I don't think you're gonna struggle with hopping to this and knowing almost immediately what those values are. And I like that. I like having reticles that are easy to distinguish. The 2/10 breakups that you're seeing there, again, we're only looking at 50 yards, but those 2/10 breakups are very easy for me to quickly follow through with a correction. If I see that I'm 2/10 off in an NRL competition, I have some sort of berm, and that's kind of rare, but if I do have some sort of berm right behind the target, then I can quickly adjust the 2/10, and I know exactly what those values are. The windage holds, they're pronounced enough. The numbers you can see are kind of on the far extreme on the windage. As far as the tree goes, and the ladder or the lower stadia, numbers are further away from the center post. And so both sides have some numerical indicators of varying text size. That's another thing that's kind of interesting about this. So when it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, from what you can hopefully see right now in the camera, the numbers actually increase in font size. as well. And so it's a little bit easier to see as you reduce magnification. Let me back off a little bit to try to explain what I mean and why that matters to some degree. Some companies don't do this, and it's kind of goofy that they don't. As you decrease your magnification, you go down. Right now I'm on about 15 power. On 15 power, you can see the numbers that I would have to use in an extreme holdover situation are bigger numbers, so I can reference them, I can read them, I can see that font and contrast well enough. My eyes aren't going to have to really struggle like the way I would have to read 2 right now. 2 is pretty small, 4 is pretty small. But if I'm actually backing off magnification, the other numbers are big enough, they're easy for me to see, and it kind of just matches. There's some sort of symmetry going on, and it's comfortable to the eye, it's not fatiguing for me, that it breaks down and matches the flow of the tree and the windage holds as they go out. So those 2 and 4 lines, a little smaller, and then we go up to the 6 and 8, 10, 12, all the way down to 14 there. Now I can, when I back off a little bit more, I'm going to have to take off the magnification assist lever here so I can show you lower magnification. Hopefully I can make this work. If I go down all the way down, there's 5 power. Right there you can see it's actually extremely windy. I'm sorry about the wind sounds if you can hear them in the background. But you can see how these lines get fat for the windage the lateral and horizontal. They go from fat to skinny, and it kind of draws your eye in. So if I actually take you through and magnify more and more, draws your eye to the center. And then when you're actually using the reticle, you don't really see them. If you're going to shoot on, let's say 20 power in your target shooting, you're really not going to see those big fat lateral and horizontal lines underneath. And then of course it has a really nice open negative hold area. I don't like a busy area with a bunch of ranging features or things like that in that area. It's just not useful to me. I don't need it. It depends on what kind of scope it is, whether it's neat or not, but I just tend not to need it in the upper area there. I like the lower area to have a decent amount of hold. It depends on the quality of the glass, and this glass can sustain down to those 15 mils easily. I don't find so much distortion that I can't use down to the 15 mils, like on the pinnacle of the fatter line, the horizontal line, where you kind of meet that fat portion on the bottom. I can still use that, and it's easier for me when I'm actually shooting because it looks more like this. The reticle is much bigger. It's not going to look as big for you with a camera and the way that this operates, but down a little lower, yes, it does look better. And so it's easy to pick out, easy to contrast against. And I talked to Ilya about these holes that are in the fat portions, and there are some reference markers in there. They're kind of extreme. It's not that they're not practical. It's just, if you're really shooting that far, it's better to have a hole in the line than it is a dash, which covers more of the target. So there's a hole there. Technically, you could try to place it on something very small. If you could see through that hole, it might be a better idea than putting a big fat, 0.005 hash through that line. So kind of a unique take on it. I haven't seen that done before on those big bold lines with a hole. Maybe I'm just not very experienced, and maybe a lot of people are doing that. I haven't seen it before. So it was unique to me, but it kind of makes sense. And the more that I use the scope, and I do shoot ELR distance, I shoot really far. I'll shoot this at 630 yards today if the wind calms down. And I will need to try some of that out because I can go down to 30 mils, which at 627 yards, I need 41 or 42 in this temperature with the ammo I brought today. And so there's a lot of hold in there, and I have a lot of dialing as well. I would say the eye box is actually really comfortable, even on 5 power. You get a great field of view. And so for this application right here on my CZ457 with a bunch of gear from Pete's Pillars. Thank you to Pete's Pillars and Anacook for sending that out. Of course, Telson for the optic. And Pete threw out a trigger spring, a few other things on here, the chassis. Really appreciate that. But on 5 power, I got a great field of view. And when I think of the times I would need that is if I'm scanning a wide place, if I'm prairie dog hunting, lots of application for having wide field of view. And on 5 power, the reticle is still functional because it has a parallax that goes down quite close, and I could go down to 20 yards if I wanted to. Move that back. If I wanted to go down to 20 yards, I could shoot game that was relatively close with a big scope like this. If I got that chance for whatever reason, which does happen with gopher hunting, I do a lot of gopher hunting here in Minnesota when the spring and summer comes, 5 power is very practical. And I do a lot of it at dusk, and so I'm going to need a little bit of that illumination. And I very often will have one pop up around a building corner or something and run into the yard in front of me at like 20 yards. Super close. So 5 power is all I need. It's all I want for something that close. And actually, the reticle makes sense. I can do it on 5 power. It's just a little bit thin, a little bit small. But because of the thicker lines that kind of guide your eye to the center and a functional illumination that's going to do the center, like basically across and not the tree, it's great for hunting. And I like that a lot. When it comes to competitions, 12 is obviously a very popular range for a reason. You still get a nice field of view. I'm not going to be using the extreme holds probably in NRL 22, but maybe in like an X match I would. And I still have a decent clarity around the edges. It's not perfect. And remember, my phone camera cannot focus on the edges of the glass as well as the center of the reticle. And right now I'm focused on the center of the reticle. If I was to simply move the focus to the edge of the glass, the phone just kind of blows out there. So I'm sorry about that. It's a technology issue. But trust me when I say the edges of the glass are still sufficient. The image and the ability to get good light and color fidelity, it's reasonable. It's not too bad at all. And that's on 12 power. So field of view is excellent. Reticle is excellent. I can pretty much do a whole match, center fire, rim fire, with just that. I think back to, let's see, last year, shooting a PRS match, and I think it was maybe 1267, if I remember right. At 1267, on that particular day, it wasn't horrible mirage, and I bumped my optic up to 20. It's so uncommon that I remember it. You're not going to do that a lot, but I bumped it up to 20, and I could repeatedly shoot, and I could spot trace, and I could see my misses and impacts really well that day. But very often, 12 to 14 power is plenty for PRS. But then I do target practice too. And in Minnesota, you know, with changing weather conditions, you do have mirage that's going to ruin your day from time to time. But with this reticle, I think I can blow it up to 20 power really comfortably. I can find targets fast. I don't have any issues with that. And I like the reticle right here for target practice. So my application is hunting, a little bit of competition, and plenty of target practice. That's most of what I do. And I feel like this reticle makes a lot of sense for the things that I'm going to do, and it'll probably cover the gamut for most of you. And that's as much as I have to say about the reticle. I'm not a reticle expert, but I do like it. I like how the numbers are laid out. I like the stadia, and I like how fast and easy it is to read this reticle when I'm on the fly in a competition, hunting situation, and then it's fine enough to make some good corrections when I'm shooting target practice, even at extended distances. All right, so it is quite windy, and I apologize about the wind sound. I'm going to try to go ahead and clear this KYL in the wind. It's going to be a struggle, but I will be able to get probably all of them within the 10. If I cannot have another dud, that'd be great. Looked a little bit low to me, a little bit right, which would make sense because I have wind from the northwest, and that's a pretty strong gust right there. Hopefully you can hear some of that. Let's favor left edge and find out what happens. Uh-oh. There it is. So I'm 1 round short for that 1/4 inch. Let's try it one more time. Okay, 10 more rounds of Wolf Match target loaded up. I don't use extra for reviews, so we're just going to shoot this. And I was trying to hold a little low before. I'm going to hold right on. And by the way, I'm on 13 power. Okay, I can hear that wind. I'm going to hold left. That's a pretty strong gust. And that reticle is doing exactly what it should. It's giving me a decent reference point. Okay, down to the 1/4 inch. I'm going to see if that gust tapers off. The wind is pretty swirly, so that's kind of hard, but the reticle gives me something to work with. There it is. Kind of a wild round, but it was on. One more shout out to Pete's Pillars. Thank you for sending out these weights, the chassis, the trigger, the barrel. This 22-inch barrel has been awesome. And we're still shooting this Telson 5-25, the Target Master, and I'm liking it a lot, having a good experience with it. Today, I'm just getting out to 330 yards. Looks like we're going to shoot about 330. Haven't done anything yet. Don't have any development for this data yet. I tend to shoot not as precise loadings in the spring so that I can plink for a little while. I should be about 15 mils. We're going to find out in a second if I'm close. I like that second revolution indicator. You can't see it from where you're at right now, but I can. So on this turret, you have 3 rows of numbers vertically, that they go up from the mil markers, and then you have your half mil increment that stands out against the other tenths. And so I can tell when I'm right up to 15, and then I also have this second revolution indicator. So if I was to go beyond the 20 mils, then it pops up again to a silver marker, which is kind of cool. And I'm going to be seeing that very soon in person when I go back to 500. But maybe not today. It's really windy. So the plan is just to shoot some clays. Let's see what happens at 330 yards with the data I just put in, and I'll make some corrections, use the reticle, and I'll probably hook up my side shot scope cam to show you a little bit of that too, so you can get some of the experience. And you're not going to hear much of it because I have an Aneco X can on the front, and it works great. Here we go. Dialing out to about 15 mils, like I said, did require me to touch up the parallax just a touch. And that makes sense because you're not as centered as you were before in the glass. You're changing it and you need to adjust some of that. So that's very normal, and I did have to do it here. I'm going to start off going above the far left one, above 14-ish. That area there, there's a clay sitting there. Should be able to get close. Oofda. Okay, that appeared to be a hit to me. And what I had to do there is try to read this wind. You can see that flag right there. That flag that you can see the tip of behind me is not doing the same thing as the flag over there. And they're only like 60 yards apart. I don't know what the heck's going on with that. And then the vegetation down there is different. So kind of a swirly wind, but because of the reticle, because of the openness around the center dot, I could see where it was going. I sent a few with the same data, same hold, and I wasn't making a correction because I wanted to see, is this wind? Am I just, filling up the suppressor full of gas and it's changing things around? I had to kind of estimate a little bit what was going on there. But the reticle helped me get where I needed to be. And eventually, I just needed to hold about 2 mils. It was more like 1.8 mils of wind. And at 1.8 mils of wind, that's when I was able to walk it in. I was hitting a little bit high and a little bit right there for a couple shots. And I could see those very easily, very clearly, even though, 22 doesn't have a lot of splash at 330 yards. The reticle, though, doesn't obstruct my view. And because it doesn't have a lot of negative hold or a ranging feature up in that negative hold area, I was able to see when it was hitting high. And I do like where the numbers are in the stadia. It does help me quickly assess what I needed to do for corrections and then walk it in there to that hit. I believe it was a hit. Anyways, it looked like it hit it and just didn't burst it into pieces. Maybe just was kind of a center break on that clay. I'll probably throw a couple more at it here now that I have a general idea where this wolf match target is going to go. We'll see what else I can do. All right, so the reason I was shooting fast there was not just to be reckless. It's trying to keep the shots in the same wind. And down there, if you could tell, that was basically the same hold until the last couple shots, and then I was holding 3 mils of wind. And when I go to 3 mils of wind and I start having deviations in elevations because I have a northwest wind, and anyways, that was around there. It was close. The reticle was sharp and easy for me to jump on. It's a nice bold contrast, and the clarity is easily enough. Actually, it looks really, really good. It should because of the lighting conditions I'm in right now, but it looked really, really good. No problems at all, even though I'm dialed out to, now I'm about 15.9 where I'm at right now, and I might go up to 16 and try this again. We'll see what happens if the wind dies down. Three more. Okay, I've got some more MIGs loaded up. Let's try for another clay, and I'm going to, again, keep looking at the glass clarity, the edges, and I might even back off. Actually, I like that idea better. Yeah, let's back off. I'm going to do just holdovers with 16 mils. We'll see what that looks like towards the end of the glass. Now, obviously, this has 14 mils, and so you can go down to, there's like a little bit of chevron. I'm going to bump it up. So I will hold the 14 mils. I dialed 2. Let's see what it can do with that. And that puts me on about 13 power. No, 14. It's 14 power. And I can still see that pretty well. Although, it has one of those little holes in there, 14, 15. There is a 16 mil marker. No, I just changed my mind again. I'm going to do that because I like that idea better. Let's try this. I'm going to use the 16 mil hole that's in the horizontal structure below the pinnacle or below the chevron of the thick line. Let's see what I can do with that. I bet I can put a clay in that hole. I'll probably have to lead it with wind anyways. Let's go for there's a set of 2 clays above 15. I'm going to go for the top one. Okay. Yeah, the only problem I had there was that there's no wind leads in that, but you do have a nice open field of view. And when you reduce magnification, it looks a little nicer. I don't think you need the tree necessarily to go down quite so far. Some people like it, some people don't. Just a preference thing. But I was able to make that work, and I could see all of my misses. I backed down to 11 power to make that happen. I could see all of my misses just fine. And they were close. It was relatively close. For how windy it is, I mean, come on. That's really not too bad. Now let's try it. Yeah, I'll dial back out this time, and I'm going to go all the way to max power. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'm going to go all the way to max power and see what that looks like using the wind holds again. Okay, there was another hit. And, you know, it's a pretty decent image. I like it a little better on 20 power myself, but it's pretty decent. And I do have some mirage to work through today. When there's really bad mirage and I'm this close to the ground, you can't always tell if it's the glass or if it's the mirage you're dealing with. In this case, I happen to kind of know because of the weather conditions what I'm doing. It's mirage. I've lifted this up off the ground and I've been in a higher place looking through with nice clear air and good temperatures and atmospherics and all that, and I don't see too bad of an image at all, even on 25 power, while I'm dialing out pretty far. I think 16 mils is pretty far for a 22. Obviously, I'm going to take it past 30 mils pretty soon here. We'll see what happens there, but it's not a bad image at all. I just prefer it closer to 20 power. iBox is not terrible. I really didn't have to fight it very much. I think that's one advantage of the Telson versus some other similarly priced optics. Yeah, I need to think about this. I can at least think of two similarly priced, but their eye boxes seem a little bit more sensitive. And so this is good design. I think it's a little bit more easy going. It's a little bit more easy to get behind, more comfortable in general. This time I'll go for the clay that's in the pit above 15. I believe I got a corner of it. I don't think that's a shadow. I think I did get a corner of it on that one, but I'm going to keep going until I break it. And there was another piece of it right there. That's fun. I really enjoy that. That's one of the reasons I like 22. So I can just sit down and prone and I can afford to shoot this in the first place. Really nice image. I'm still practicing shooting further distances, you know, with a 22 because I do have a lot of elevation I have to put into that. And the image is still looking really nice. So great job. I think I'll throw on my side shot scope cam and just show you a little bit of what that looks like for me. Okay, I'm sorry about the wind sound, and it looks like my camera does not want to focus on that reticle. It's not playing very nice at the moment. I'm going to try to throw a few out there and give you somewhat of a feel. Maybe if I back it off just a touch, somehow I'll be able to make that work for you. Let's see. Go for the one in the pit above 15. Low. Can right away see what my correction needs to be. That bullet went fast. That one went slow. You can kind of hear it with the silencer. There it is. All right, everybody, I'm going to do my best to go over the features really quickly. You have your fast focus diopter. This is it's very, very smooth. It's fairly stiff, and that's what I want to see in a diopter that's a non-locking diopter. It has a rubber ring around it to protect you in case you accidentally give yourself rookie bite, or one of your friends doesn't know how to manage recoil. It has the plus sign going that way, the minus sign going this way. I found I was able to get it to operate properly for my eye. You have some really well done, tactfully done marketing here. This is the 525 Target Master by 56. And then moving on to the magnification ring. No slop in it at all. Really smooth. It's not a bad throw at all. Just firm enough that it's where it ought to be. I don't find it just bends right over, and it also isn't stiff. It's not gritty at all. It is, I would say, borderline perfect. At this price point, it's better than the other scopes that I have, I think, that are 5 to 25s. Now, one thing I like about this is even though it's very, very smooth and it's got this awesome texture, these uniform textures are unique. I think it was designed by a couple of the lads over there. They did a good job, a really good job with this. I haven't seen this one before. It looks cool and it feels great. It operates. It's actually got, a functional value to it aside from the aesthetic, but it's really cool. I like how small the magnification assist lever is. I don't really want a huge one. I know a couple brands out there, I'm not going to throw them out, but a couple brands out there do really big throw levers, and I just don't find that I need it, or redesign this so it moves smoother would be my recommendation on those brands. I like this one because it moves very smoothly, but if I'm in a match, and let's say I am actually going to touch my magnification, which doesn't happen much, but if I'm going to and I want to go quickly, or I need to move and get field of view, maybe I'm actually having trouble spotting something, seeing something, I might need to move quickly, and I just like having a little bit of an assist on there that is removable. Well done on that. The assist itself has a little bit of grip and texture, so really good. And like I said, the numerical indicators on there all make sense. They're the most common magnifications that people are going to use and want reference points for. So this was like super well thought out, in my opinion. Plenty of space here in real estate for rings, as well as the bubble level. Thank you to MKM for sending that out to the channel, so I have bubble levels to use on high quality precision optics. Moving on up, let's go ahead and talk about the turret for a second. I'll zoom in so you can see a little better. Okay, so the turrets are cool. They're a little bit lower profile, which I do dig, and it allows me to run a red dot piggyback, which sometimes is really nice. I actually like it more in hunting optics than I realized I would. I really like running red dots on optics, but on precision optics, sometimes it's just nice to have as a quick reference point, or shooting really, really close things like prairie dogs at 10 yards. Occasionally that can actually be useful. Anyways, nothing important about that. I just wanted to say I like the low profile design. It does have a coin slot on top, and it doesn't strip out. It seems to be a hard enough metal on top, which I have recently found with other brands is frustrating when they have soft metal. This one has appropriately hard aluminum or metal. Okay, so the indicators, you're actually going to see something interesting right here. You have a couple rising indicators reminding you that you're going up to the next one. So you have 0, 10, 20, and there's those rising indicators because that's almost reminding you that you're going up to the next level. You're going to be in your next revolution, and then you're also going to have your revolution indicator rise, and I intend to show you that right now. So we're on 9, and it starts to rise at around 9.5, and then it's lifted and it's red. I can feel it, I can see it, and let's go around to the second one. I believe I have enough because I think I have 21.5 in here. Yep, there you go. So as I get to the next level, now I have a silver colored indicator under that. It's very easy to see. It shines well. It contrasts between the red and the silver. It's just no confusion whatsoever. So if you were curious how it would work to have a second revolution indicator on an optic like this, well, first of all, it's awesome because it's not limited. I like having lots of range of travel in my optics. I at least want the option there, as long as the glass can sustain it, and this one can. And in that second revolution, I can also see it quickly, and I know where I'm at if I need to go back down to 10 mils instead of 20 or whatever. And I do think I max out at 21 because I only have a 30 MOA rail, which helps keep this glass right where it ought to be for most of the shooting that I like to do. I have a little negative hold there, just a few clicks, and then I go back to my 0. Nicely done. I like that. The windage I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but it is a locking windage, which I do like. I don't have to have locking turrets for elevation. That's not something I demand. Some people really do. But when it comes to windage, this is locking, and I like that. I don't want to have an open windage. I actually have had windage knobs move on me in the past. Not throwing out any names, but I've had a few of them actually rotate on me during a match or in and out of bag. Kind of frustrating. So I like windage locking. And I've just, never really had that issue with elevation ever on any scope. So I can take it or leave it. And on this one, I will take it. I'll run it that way. Really nice tactile clicks. Pretty positive. I'm not going to zoom in and give you a listen. It's just really windy out right now. Maybe I'll do my best. Here you go. I don't think there's a lot of backlash in there. It's just a minimal amount and not too bad on the elevation turret. Let's move over to, let me get out of the way. Let's move over to the parallax. Parallax goes down to 20 yards, as you can see with that numerical indicator. And then you're not going to have numerical indicators, but you have a broadening or fattening line. And as it gets wider and wider, there are some differences here, and you could write on there. If you thought it was somehow useful, you could write on that white line in there. Lots of people do that. And you'll notice that here's your witness line, and then there's a double bar right there, a double black bar, which kind of splits that up and gives you a reference point. And these are great for your own kind of reference point if you need it. I genuinely and generally don't look at them. I just move this around until it does what it's supposed to. Even in matches, I just don't look at the numbers very much. Maybe when I actually go all the way down to 20, I look over. I don't know, just a habitual thing that I do. But I'm not going to need to look at this very much in matches. I just kind of run it. So it doesn't bother me that there's no numerical indicators on there. And honestly, I'm pretty strong on this. I don't think it should bother you either. Moving on to the illumination. This whole thing moves on the illumination, so it's very different. It's very separate from the parallax. The parallax doesn't move, it doesn't interfere, and it gives you plenty of real estate. I've actually had some optics where the illumination rather, was a very small dial, or it was so tight that it actually moved the parallax, which is supposed to run completely independent, and that's really frustrating. So this one is not that. It's not going to frustrate you, but you do have a decent amount of intensity to run up to, and I would say this is right in the wheelhouse of the price point in the market. I tend to, with illumination, run it a little bit lower because I'm running it early morning or late in the evening. The battery cap housing is easy enough to get off of. Get off here with a coin or something slotted, the included tool. You can use all of that to take it off. I haven't had that be much of an issue at all. But very tactile, clicky, on and off. I like on and off. That's the way I like to have it. Some stepless illumination might make sense for certain kinds of scopes, but for this one, I like on and off. I think that was a good design feature and a great idea. This optic does come with flip-up covers, or just kind of your average covers. Nothing wrong with them, not bad. Maybe a little bit better designed than some, just because they have a little bit more leverage on the actual flip than other designs I've seen where I've had those crack off in the winter. This one has a little bit more strength and leverage that I could grab onto to flip them open, but not a big deal. A lot of times at matches, I just need something to cover up the lenses and protect that glass, and they do just fine. Okay, everybody, so that's a little discussion of the features, kind of a first look at the scope. I will have more videos in the future with this optic. Obviously, I'm going to put it on some center fire. I haven't actually decided what center fire to put it on yet. I have some that are being made for me right now, a few rifles that will be coming out to the channel over the next half year or so, and I think this might be a good fit for some of those. I'm going to play around with it, and I do like it. As I said in the intro, I'm going to recommend this. I think it's a great fit, especially for NRL 22. I think it's a very nice configuration for that. The 3 turns makes me very happy. The indicator is kind of just icing on the cake. I like the illumination. I do want to correct myself a little bit. I said it was decently bright. Actually, it's quite bright. I put in a fresh battery, popped that in there, and I'm going to say this is a really nice bright illumination. It's better than most in the price point, maybe all of them in the price point. I haven't tried all optics, but I will say everything I currently own that's in this price point, right around the $1,200 and under, nope, not as good. This is a really nice configuration for the illumination. So I want to say well done to Telson on the illumination specifically, and I like the T and the cross. I can use it for hunting, and I can use it for most types of competition, X matches for 22, even some night shoots that we do here in Minnesota. I think I could make it work for that just fine. I like the configuration for centerfire optics. I like it for rimfire optics, and you know what? It goes down to 20 yards. You could even put this on a highly qualified PCP or air rifle that doesn't have reverse recoil like a Springer. I'm not yet ready to say whether this is Springer rated or not, and most of us aren't going to be worrying about that. But if you have a really nice PCP, or maybe you're getting into NRL 22 and you want to be competing at a higher level, you know, or maybe you're a target shooter, this is something that's very competitive. I think if you decide to go with the Telson brand, no matter which one you go with or get, you're going to find that you have a high pride of ownership. These are really nice optics. They're configured well. They're designed by people who actually shoot and compete and hunt. And that's one thing that lots of people say, and then you get the optic or you try it out and it's just kind of bull crap. You know that somebody who is not really into optics designed it, or they tried their best to reverse engineer somebody else's optic and they failed. And this is not a case of that. It's a really good optic. It is made by shooters for shooters, and I want to highly recommend you guys check out Telson. Head to their website and see what else they have, because this is a good high quality optic and you will be seeing more of it very, very soon.